welcome to our very first edition of the Silicone Sessions, hosted by myself, Nathan Ruby, Commercial Director of the Silicone Expo, and joined by the one and only Mike Kister of our gold sponsoring exhibitor, Novagard Solutions. Mike, hello, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Nathan. Oh, it's great to be here. Having a good time. Look forward to doing some live trade shows again. So, getting excited about this.
So well, firstly, I do love your backdrop.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, it's kind of cool. So you can't tell that I'm in the office or I'm on the road. So there we are. So in case my boss is listening, I am in the office today. So
yeah, awesome. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for joining. So this is the very first Silicone Sessions. It's going to be part of a new thing that we're doing here at Silicone Expo, just to really be sort of, I don't know, just get the community chatting, get everyone talking about various things that are going on in their respective businesses. Now, you guys were actually one of the very first companies to sign up for us. We spoke very early on. I presented the event to your good self, and you guys are coming in a really big way. You know, your gold sponsor, you're really hitting this hard. Why?
Well, you know, Nathan, when you first called me about this and started telling me what you were planning, this is simply the first show like this in the world focused exclusively on silicones. Our heritage is in silicones. We've been in silicones 40 years. We're making some major advancements in some areas. We thought this would be a great showcase for kind of the rebirth of Novagard. We are you know, a 40-year-old company, but have really gone through a startup kind of growth curve in the last 3 years with evolution of our product lines and our capabilities. And that would just be a great showcase to get back out in front of people who may not have heard from us for a while.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we you know, for us, it's great that you guys are on board. You and I have worked together previously on other shows, so you know we're going to sort of try and look out for you guys and do what we can. But I read recently as well. You know, we as organisers, we're still learning the trade. We're still learning the silicone sector. So some of the terminology I'm not quite au fait with. But I did read that you've just been awarded a certification.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about the IPCC CC830.
I think so.
There we go. Yeah, right. If I say so, right? So yeah. Absolutely. So that's an interesting kind of a standard, right? So it's really a standard that the IPCC Working Committee on Conformal Coatings has kind of established a baseline of what conformal coatings are supposed to do, how they're supposed to behave in the system, kind of their performance characteristics, what their expectations are for electrical performance and these kind of things, right? So it sets kind of a baseline. It's that lets specifiers and engineers who are working on design projects have confidence that the material that they're selecting has a certain baseline of performance, right? So obviously we still go and we test the application and we want to make sure that we're getting the right material, but it's a really rigorous set of tests that the materials have to go through in order to make sure that they're performing at a high level, right? And so we're part of these certification boards in many of the industries that we work in, and IPCC CC830 isn't any different. We just had 4 of our conformal coatings certified to CC830. And that's great because that just gets you, it eliminates a lot of questions on the front end of the process, right? As we're starting to engage with the customer about what they need, that just sets a baseline that yeah, we're there for performance wise.
Got it. And forgive my ignorance. What is a conformal coating?
Right. Okay. So let's get back there. Right. So a conformal coating is you got a circuit board like the one behind me. Right. You got all kinds of chips and circuits on it, and a conformal coating goes over the top of all of those and kind of seals them in. Right. And the conformal coating is there to protect that circuitry from dust or moisture, or in the case of harsh environments, like salt spray and those kind of things in automotive applications. Silicone is kind of the Cadillac in terms of sorry, Ford. Silicone is kind of the premium product in terms of providing that high level of protection. So it's really the gold standard in doing conformal coating.
Got it. So it's for the electronics sector. Obviously, the electronics sector is vast.
Is vast, right? And any, it could be a computer in your car. It could be a circuit board in a cell phone. It could be any other kind of. It's in our electrical grids, power distribution systems. Even your water meter now has got a computer on it because they read it remotely while they're driving down the street, right? That circuitry all has to be protected from the elements. A lot of places, water meters are even buried in the ground. So you need to have the protection that a conformal coating would bring to that, or some other kind of silicone coating, whether it's a patent or a coating or whatever you're going to use.
Wow. Okay. So applications are huge. This would go into huge amounts, right? So
yeah, this and it's just compounding every year. The kind of global electrification of everything, right? Electric cars and electric lawnmowers and battery operated everything, right? Yeah. Just requires a rethink of kind of how we transmit power, how we use power, and then what that equipment needs to be, right? 15 years ago, we were talking about tiny internal combustion engines for our weed whackers. Now we're talking about electrical systems and batteries and heat dissipation and keeping those circuitry protected and performing properly. So it's just a radical shift globally away from petroleum products and to electrically powered devices of all types.
That's great. Yeah, really cool. You mentioned a couple of times as well, UV dual coating, is that correct?
UV dual cure. So,
okay.
Yeah. So curing is the process of a liquid silicone turning into a solid hard rubber protectant. Okay, so very simple. You've got a UV cure means that the process of converting that from the liquid into the solid is kicked off by UV light. So essentially, UV light energy hits the silicone. It starts a cross-linking process, which then assembles that silicone polymer into a matrix that provides that coating, right? So UV cure is one way you can kick it off. There's a, platinum addition cure is another chemistry. So there's lots of ways to cure a product. Now, the problem, of course, with just a straight UV cure is if you look at the circuit board behind me, there's lots of shadow areas. These boards are not perfectly flat. The chips have height to them. And so your light source is not going to be able to get to all of the coating. The coating might flow under the chips or something like that, right? And industry refers to that as a shadow area. So it can't be hit with the UV light, so it's not going to cross-link. So what we've done is we've combined the UV curing technology with a secondary cure mechanism that's a moisture cure mechanism. So what happens is you put the coating on, you expose that coating to that UV light energy, 3 to 5 seconds, it's going to cure over and cure most of the way through that product. There'll be a little unreacted silicone in the shadow areas. That's going to absorb moisture from the atmosphere, and over the next 24 hours or so, that'll finish curing out. And during that process, it develops kind of a full adhesion to the circuit board there and lets it get a good solid bond.
Okay, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, would you need specialist equipment for that?
So yeah, I mean, you have to. There's a lamp, a UV light source that causes the curing, right? And so if you go back, to the earlier iterations of that technology, they're pretty cumbersome, right? They used a lot of energy. They were really a maintenance nightmare to keep up with them, but like everything else, times change and evolve, right? So we're probably about 4th or 5th generation UV curing technology now. It's moving to LED technology. We've got LED curing lamps in our lab right now that we're testing and evaluating with our products for compatibility. So, that technology has really now entered mainstream, and within the next year or so, you're going to see wide availability of LED curing lights. That's going to take your energy consumption requirements way down. And a UV cured silicone is going to be far more prevalent, I think, in the market once these lights are more readily available.
Awesome. Okay, amazing. So going back to the actual certification itself that you
Sure.
mentioned, I'm really sorry, with the numbers, I've forgotten what it was.
IPCC CC830C.
Why do you think this is so important for the manufacturers and the electronic manufacturers?
It's a confidence issue, Nate, and it's a speed to design issue, right? So everybody's trying to do more with fewer resources, less people, get it done faster, right? And that applies to product designers as well as it applies to gardeners, right? Mm-hmm. So you got your product designer, and they're trying to figure out how to code and protect a new board that they've got, and they've got multiple coatings to choose from. If they're choosing a coating that's CC830 certified, they know that it's going to perform at a certain level of dielectric strength. It's going to have a certain abrasion resistance. It's going to have a certain hardness. It's going to have a certain adhesion. You know, these are the things that if you didn't have a certifying body, they'd have to test each of these materials, right? So now they got to bring in samples from all their prospective vendors. They've got to design, in some cases, a test method that's going to work with their circuit design. They need to coat the boards. They might not be coating experts. Coat and cure. Did they cure it properly? Am I testing this properly? There's a whole lot of questions that come up there, which require the engineer to slow down, do analysis, do studies, right? And that'll slow the time they bring a product to market. On the other hand, if they can say, hey, I can start with these couple of coatings that are CC830 certified, I know that I've got a certain level of performance. I still want to test, I'm still going to validate it in my application, but I can skip like 20 of the intro steps. I can go right to the kind of advanced testing that's specific to my board and not be as concerned about kind of the baseline testing, right? So it's really a speed to design and a confidence in the design. So when they finish the design, say, yeah, this is a good one. This is going to work for us.
Awesome. So there's I think we're just under a year now to the show, Silicone Expo.
Yep.
By then, do you think you guys might have more products similar to this? Or
yeah, so Nathan, we've got now 22 UV Cure and UV Dual Cure products in our lineup. 2 years back, we had 7. So we're coming with quickness on this. We've got a really broad product strategy around this. This is a major initiative for the company, is to develop these UV cured materials. It's all about speed and efficiency on the manufacturing floor. We understand that, and our partners are asking us for faster and faster curing solutions. So I would expect by next year, we'll continue to expand that product. We've got conformal coatings. We've got some semi-flowable and flowable potents. We've got some paste products that are used in assembly. Those are all already developed. We'll continue to expand that line. I would also expect us to have UV curable gasketing and some bigger UV cured screen printable materials as well. So we'll continue to flesh that product line out, but I expect you're going to see us with probably 25 to 30 products in the lineup by the time we get Silicone Expo.
Rapid turnaround. That's impressive. Yeah.
Rapid turnaround. Well, that's a lot of what we do, Nate. We really end up working with a lot of organizations that need something a little different than what's commercially available, typically a little modification, because all of these products are now, the designs are so compact, they've really optimized the design of the circuitry, and now they need a coating or other sealant that is really optimized to work with that solution. So we'll often get, have an inquiry, we'll send them out some sample products that we have off the shelf, and then the feedback will be, this is great, can we get something that's a little harder, a little more abrasion resistant, or a little softer, depending on the application, right? And then we'll modify from there, get that dialed in, and we typically turn those things around very quickly for customers. They're not calling us because they're taking a survey. They're not calling us to be curious in 2024, can they buy a product? No, they're calling us because they've got an application sitting right in front of them today, and they need a silicone that's going to work for that application. So our lab is incredibly responsive. We pride ourselves on our ability to iterate in the lab and bring that forward for our customers.
Awesome. Well, that's interesting, because we're having a lot of conversations with multiple individuals from the entire supply chain of the silicone industry. And a lot of people are saying they're struggling to get hands on materials. It's sluggish. There are issues with the supply chain.
There are. There's issues with supply chain. There's issues with the logistics around the supply chain. There's guys driving transport ships sideways in the Suez Canal. There's typhoons in Southeast Asia. There's freezing Texas. There's just all kinds of problems, right? And it's a challenge for all of us, right? We're very fortunate that our R&D lab is very capable, and our relationships with our suppliers are very strong. And so we're able to work with the materials that we have. We also develop a lot of our polymers in-house. So we've got a lot of proprietary materials that go into our finished products that are not part of the global supply chain. So we have a little bit of insulation there, but yeah, it's affecting everybody. You got to plan ahead right now. You can't expect responsiveness from the supply chain like you used to have. So we're plotting purchases out about 6 or 8 months now. So we're already contracting into the first and second quarter of next year for supply, just to make sure that we have what our customers need. We recognize that in past years it was all about, hey, how can we shave 2% off this year? I think balance of 21 and through 2022, it's going to be, can you get product? Do we have supply, right? And so our customers cannot afford to be shut down. We have to come through with supply, and it's really, supply first, price is secondary, right? How much can we assure product supply? Let's keep their factory up and running, right? And that's how we're going to ultimately all of us are going to get through this.
Yeah. So I actually think it'll be quite a big part of the show next year, and in the build up, the thought leadership side of things, the conference, the webinars we're going to host. I think that's going to be a really pertinent subject, and I think the industry really needs to get together. Competitors, rivals, have to gel together and say, right, how can we speed up this process?
Right. How can we get these plants back online, right? And this goes beyond industry, right? We're part of this problem is exacerbated because there's regions in China that are still kind of backwards in their human rights policies, right? And so we've had to shut down and can't take material from those places, right? Well, that's a socioeconomic problem that China needs to kind of modify how they're dealing with their own folks in their own provinces, right? And we would hope as citizens of the world that they would get their act together on that. We would hope as members of the silicone community that they would get their act together on that, because we need the supply. The industry needs the supply, but obviously we have to do so in a responsible manner. So,
but there's a lot of chat about it. I think we'll see. Hopefully by the end of the show next year, there'll be some answers to this. People can get their heads together. But that's great. I think we've covered quite a lot here. I mean, I understand a bit more now.
Well, good. I'm having a good time, Nathan. We're going to have such a good show next year. We're excited about it. We're putting a lot of planning around it. I'm bringing 4 different business units to the show. Not only our electronics materials, we'll have a thermal and EV battery materials represented there. We have our full industrial silicone line that we've been selling into automotive for the last 40 years. And then we also have our building and construction materials for window glazing and window manufacturing. So we'll be well represented with all of our product lines there. So it's a great show. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking at the folks are getting signed up, and this is going to be a good one.
It feels it. Honestly, I could be accused of being biased for saying this. But
well, just a little bit biased, but I'm biased right with you, Nate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the silicone industry. How can I not say the Silicone Show is the greatest show going, right? This is all what we're about.
Yeah, but no, it's the general vibe that we get when we're speaking to people is one of, yes, this is brilliant. We're really happy doing this. We haven't had anyone turn around and say, why are you doing this? You know.
Right.
But so yeah, we're buzzed. We're really excited. Our team is growing. The word's getting out there. So I think by the time we get to the show, we'll all be there and, you know, shaking hands, having a beer together, and doing it all well. But look, I'll let you go. Thank you so much. It's been really
Absolutely, Nate. Looking forward to it, and we'll connect again soon.
excellent. Thank you very much.
Great.
Good
Peace.
stuff.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.